Sifu Raphael is the founder and host of Coaching Call, Heroes Rising, The Seer Show, and New Tip Daily. He works with individuals, groups, and businesses and helps them find clarity, purpose, and understanding of who they really are in business and personal life. Sifu Raphael has used his skills to develop a variety of multifaceted businesses in the martial arts and fitness industries. He owns and operates a 10,000 square foot martial arts and fitness facility in New York. Jose Escobar is an award-winning, nationally recognized personal development speaker, published author, and sales professional. He leads compelling, high-level communities consisting of entrepreneurs and advanced leaders through his two business models, the Entrepreneur's Bookshelf and the Connected Leaders Academy. He is also the co-host of Heroes Rising.
Happy Friday, everybody. I am so thrilled to be here with you. Jose will join us shortly, but I have two amazing doctors joining us today. I have Dr. Esther and Dr. Michelle. Ladies, thank you so much for being part. And there he is. Jose's coming on the stage. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am thrilled that you made the time to join us today. Welcome, Jose.
Good morning. Good morning. Oh, good afternoon. Excuse me.
Yes. What an exceptional Friday it has been, my friend.
It sure has. And we're just getting started, right?
That's exactly it. So I think today the conversation is going to be on mastering and transforming your dreams into reality. Oh my gosh, huge topic. It's how do you manifest that, right? Take it away. This is going to be open conversation. No, everybody has the stage when you speak. How's that?
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Esther, what does that mean to you?
Well, thanks for having me. For me, it means really transforming the abstract into tangible, right? Really taking those highest aspirations, those things that we had as a kid, or those things that we visualize for our legacy 20, 15, 10 years from now, and then really changing that to actionable steps, roadmaps, and making it happen and keeping it going. A lot of times we keep it in the abstract world, and it's just taking that extra step to make it tangible and doable for us, because everything is within our fingertips.
Everything is. And I got to tell you, on my show earlier this morning, you had such a great tip that really made people to, not only general people out there, but made me think about my future and what I need to do with it, right? So thank you for that. Dr. Michelle, same question to you, mastering and transforming your dreams into reality.
Yeah, so I think the visual has frozen. Could you hear me okay?
We can hear you, and
that's okay. That's okay. So I think it's so important to also know the barriers that keep you from following your dreams. Because I think that's the first step. And I always find that if we're not really in tune with ourselves and understand what's kind of getting in the way, we're not going to move forward. So I really talk a lot about that because I feel like there's so many barriers, both because of what's going on, external to us in our outside world, and then internally with us, just because of, again, our genetics, our experiences, our temperament, and so many factors. And even just like a lot of just our humanism, our biology impacts that as well. So we really have to kind of get into and understand foundationally what the barriers are before we could even think about moving forward.
Sometimes we don't even know we put barriers in ourselves. We're the ones building those barriers, right?
Yes, definitely.
You know what you could do, Dr. Michelle, if you want to be more visible, if you want to log out and log back in, that might help. If you want to try that.
Okay, let
me ask Jose, what are you mastering and transforming your dreams into reality? Because you spoke about your dreams, and man, I got to tell you, Jose is a person who doesn't dream small. Before you answer, Jose, I actually want to share with you guys this. Take a look, everybody.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Woo, woo. Powerful, powerful. So before you even answer, Jose, you, my friend, had me visualizing your dream this past weekend because you took us to an adventure. And man, gotta tell you, I'm super thrilled that I was there to see the inception of this dream that you have. And I'm there to help any way I can.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Let me just reference, first of all, let me address your initial questions you asked, Dr. Esther and Dr. Michelle. I love being around multiple doctors. I mean, that's a blessing in itself. But in terms of the answer to that question, for me, I believe in the whole statement that's been said. I don't know who said it, but everything in life is created and born twice, right? First in the mind's eye, and then in the physical plane, right? You have to make it come into fruition. You have to take action on the dreams that are seated within us, right? Because we all have dreams, and the difference between those who accomplish it and those who don't are the ones who take action on it, right? Are the ones who have the courage to say, I'm going to step out on faith and I'm going to make it happen, right? Things don't just happen. Anything that falls together falls apart, right? You have to actually make it happen. And that's one of my quotes that I use all the time. You got to make it happen, right? So with that being said, what Sifu Raphael was referencing, I just put my dream on the table in front of a couple of hundred people at my event this past weekend. I had the official Connected Leaders Academy Global Summit. It was our first big event coming out the gates. We've been around for 2 years, right? And that whole idea started as, and the website's right there on the screen, connectedleadersacademy.com. You can go there to learn more about the CLA and what we're about. So I started with the idea of saying that I know so many people. I'm just a connector. I'm a networker. I know so many successful entrepreneurs. I said, they all know me, but they don't know each other. So I decided to create this community, this tribe. And I said, let me just charge a small fee to bring all these people together to create an environment where they can support each other, get on more podcasts, more shows, more stages, in more books if they want to write books, get leads, referrals, collaborations, endorsements, more clients, more money, you name it. Basically scale their business. So I created that environment. We started with one person, member number one, Raul Marin. He joined without anything. He didn't see anything, but he saw my vision. And now we have 392 paid members in 45 states and 20 countries, and we're growing every day. Amazing people like Sifu Raphael and others. So I said, let me take this whole networking community that we have globally off of the screens and into the reality of the physical plane and put them in a room. And I created this first event that we had, and it was a tremendous success. And the first thing I opened up with from the stage, an opening ceremony, and I'll be quiet and we'll change the subject, but what I said from the stage was very simple. And that was because we were in an atrium. It was the Hilton in Rockville, Maryland. It was a massive atrium, and it has like, I don't know, 15 floors or whatever it was. Huge, beautiful. It looks very much like an arena, like a football stadium, right? And we were in the middle of this thing, and we took over the whole section, the whole area, right? And I said to everybody, does anybody in the audience right now know why I chose to have the event here versus in a traditional room with closed doors and like everybody else does, right? Why did I have the event here in this particular atrium of this location? And the answer was quite simple. Because I am manifesting what I want in my life. I'm creating a vision. I am displaying my dream right now on phase one. This is the first phase of what we're going to do, because eventually, the reason why I chose this what looks to be like an arena is because I wanted to experience that feeling of what it's like to have an event and talk from stage in an arena, right? And it just looks like an arena. So guess what? My goal in the next 5 years is to sell out the Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas with tens of thousands of people in that arena, all under the umbrella of Connected Leaders Academy. And that vision starts this weekend. It starts right here, right now. And that's what it is. You got to position yourself to be in a place where the dream is not actually reality, but the dream is being crafted with the first step. And that was the first step this past weekend. And I think it speaks to today's topic, coincidentally.
It does. That's why, when you're mastering and transforming your dreams into reality, it's what were you, and Dr. Esther, you talked about it earlier with me. What were your dreams 5 years ago? And you, my dear, are actually living what you manifested. Just like Jose had a thought with that first member, Raul, to go into the Connected Leaders Academy. How I think every one of us can envision what our life is like. And yes, there's going to be obstacles along the way and hiccups and so forth. That's part of the challenge. That's what's make it so beautiful. So one of the biggest things, and Jose and I were just at somewhere where we actually, Jose brought someone who truly helped us realize the vision, and that's the code breaker. And if anybody is interested in even knowing just a tiny little bit, I have a great gift for everybody. If anybody's interested, I would like to give you the gift code. And the gift code right there, it's $99. It's my gift to you just for even listening. And Jose's part of this, and Jose's gifting it to you as well, because we're here to help you manifest your future. So think about everything we do every day. What are the first things you do in the morning when you wake up? And that I'm going to ask everybody on the panel, because I think that helps us manifest our day, our week, our month, our years. So anybody wants to take it away, go for it.
I'm eager to hear. So I'm going to listen in first. So please share. Let's hear.
So I'll talk first. You can't, for some reason, the video is not working out great. But so for the past 30 or so years, I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is work out. Like that has been my schedule for endless amount of years. And I always formulate my work schedule around my workout. So nothing usually comes in between that unless it's, obviously urgent. But people know, like in the morning, that's where I'm at. Like I do like my hour of weight training, my hour of cardio, 6 days a week. I don't miss a beat. I make it up if I can't do it. It's very regimented. It helps kickstart my day. It gives me energy. It allows me to feel confident in my body and my mind, and also more connected in my relationship. So it's just, it allows me to be vibrant.
Mm. That's such an incredible share, Dr. Michelle, because when you, and Jose knows movement has changed my life, right? But when you start with movement, the first thing in the morning, that is just the best, I believe, the best vitamins you can take for the rest of your day.
Yeah. Well, the reason it helps so much is because it really does help you with your mindset, right? It really kind of sets the day off in like a healthy mindset. So like what I'm eating and how I'm functioning and how present I am in my relationships, like are all such an integral focus. And the other thing that I also do is I do a 20-minute, guided, like a meditation. So I do transcendental meditation. So between kind of the movement and also strengthening my mind, it really sets me up for like a really thriving day.
Beautiful, beautiful. Dr. Esther, I'm just curious about you as well.
Yeah. So for me, I start my day actually looking at all my testimonials and my impact. So I need to be functioning at a high frequency, and I need to know why I'm here. Why am I here? Why am I doing the work I'm doing? What's the impact I'm going to have? And testimonials can be anything, right? It can be texts from friends that you've impacted. It could be from family, right? For me, it's about the people who I serve. And that helps set my day and being like, this is why you're here. This is why you're doing everything. This is the impact I'm going to have every single moment. So I'm already in a great high frequency. I'm already opening the channels to channel into my intuition, think about constantly about that vision I'm creating, those things. And then I go into my routines, kind of similar to Dr. Michelle. I also do breath work. I do exercise, the whole thing. But what I need to do first is address, and Dr. Michelle brought this up earlier, I need to address what I've overcome and how. So a lot of things I work with my clients is, let's outline what you've overcome in your life, because what you overcome, you keep overcoming. And for me, it's, I've overcome depression and anxiety. And so I need to deal with that first. And what's helped me in the past is knowing my impact, visiting that, thinking about that. That's what's gotten me through hard times. So now I don't go through those lows anymore, because I set my day up by realizing I have impact every day. And so I have a strong mindset. I'm not going to fall into depression and anxiety again. I'm tapping into my intuition, into a higher vibration, and continuing forward, right? And that's unique to everyone, right? What I've overcome is different from what you've overcome, whatever. And those tools that you've used in your life are different for each person. And so for me, it's really important to do that in the morning rather than the evening. Also, you talked about the morning, but I think it's also really important to what we do at the evening. So for me, I end my day also celebrating every single win of the day, right? So it's a full circle. I need to wake up with a good mindset and a strong mindset, and go to sleep with a strong mindset. So every single day, doesn't matter how small, I celebrate a win. It doesn't matter, so that I'm constantly celebrating the journey, not just reaching a milestone or an accolade, right? Not just about the metric. Sometimes we wait until we achieve a metric to celebrate, but there's all these things that happen to us every day. And I use like those wall calendars you get for free in the mail. And I have a collection of them, 5 years of them. And it's amazing because they're paper and you can see every single thing that, amazing that's happened to you and how far you've come. And then you visit the week, the month, the year. And it's just like a reminder, like how amazing every single day is.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I got to chime in here. I got to chime in. Go ahead.
wait, 1 second. That's her email. If anybody, her website, if anybody wants to check it out. But go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always love listening to other winners. I consider you guys winners. Anybody that has the 2 letters doctor in front of their name is a winner, clearly. So I love listening to winners and how they start their day and how they end their day. I think it speaks to the kind of person you are, right? Because anybody can just roll out of bed and just go straight into the day, not knowing what's going to come. And it's like almost like going into oncoming traffic. You have no idea. You need to have a plan, right? Success is a planned event. And you also need to pour into yourself, right? We have to, in order for us to pour into our clients, pour into our family, pour into our friends and loved ones and our neighbors and anybody, you can't pour out of an empty cup, right? So you got to fill in your cup. And a lot of self-love comes with self-care, and self-care begins when it's just you and you, right? When the pets are asleep, when the kids are asleep, when your spouse or significant other is sleeping, or, when there's no emails and distractions and people on social media. It's just a you time. So for me, speaking of that, I actually, sorry, it's backwards over here.
Yes, he's going to show you his book that he wrote. It's a great book.
I actually wrote this book called Winning the Day, An Entrepreneur's Guide to Morning and Evening Routine Mastery, which coincidentally we're talking about. So, and I call it, as Ivy said, the bookends of your day, right? How you start your day and how you end your day, I think, are the secret sauce to maximum productivity and high performance. So for me, in my morning, when I get started, I have prayer time, I have meditation time, I have breath work as well, I have journaling time, I read. If you can see here next to me, these are some of the journals that I participate with here, and I have some books here that I'm reading. So I read for 20 minutes as well included. My morning routine is from 4 to 7, so 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. And by that time, I'm taking my son to school and then so on and so forth, right? In the evening routine, and there's other things I do in the morning too, like fitness and various other things, but that's the morning, right? So there's a structured process to how I start my day. It is the same Monday through Friday. And a lot of time, discipline equals freedom is what they say. There's a great book by Jocko Willink, is discipline equals freedom, right? The less we have to think about what we need to do, the easier things can be. And it actually creates more discipline, right? But discipline begets discipline, and it just improves your life. In the evening routine, same thing. I journal again. what did I learn today? What are some wins? What are some challenges? How did I overcome it? What are your thoughts? I mind map sometimes. I just brain dump. And it's amazing how I sleep better when I journal, I pray at night, I read some more, I set my schedule for the next day, the night before. So there's a number of things I do in the evening and in the morning. And I think that creates a masterful day.
Amen.
So
I
could
gotta
I,
say,
could I add one?
go
Could I
for
add
it.
one? Yeah, since the evening. So a lot of the work that I do and I teach people is around their values, because values are a guide to action. So you were talking before, Esther, about, really kind of looking at your wins and your accomplishments and looking at the process, not just the results, which I love, right? But it's also assessing your values, really thinking about whether you acted on behalf of your values. What actions did you take throughout your day? So it's a really much more empowering approach rather than saying, I wasn't a good parent today, right? Like you could say, oh, you know what? I didn't lean into my parenting values as much as I'd like to today. I had a moment where I got a little bit temperamental and yelled at my kid, but, I had a moment. It wasn't the day, right? I had a moment in the day. And I am really going to lean into that tomorrow, right? That's going to be the focus for me, rather than condemning yourself for doing something, horribly wrong. So it's a way to really think about whether you're leaning into your values, a way that you're living the life you want, and also a way to really assess for yourself whether you're being your authentic self. And that really helps me to ground myself, and also think about how I want to live each day of my life.
I love that, Dr. Michelle. I actually have on my screen, my screensaver on my phone,
Yeah.
my top 5 values. And
Ah,
that's something I don't do my morning and evening, but I do it throughout the day. I constantly look at it. Like mine's a huge one is meaningful work. And actually I use the values to think about making choices, right? We all get people telling us, do you want to do this? Come do this. We have the shining object syndrome always in our eyes, right? And I think for me, it's always looking, I tie it to the values. Is this meaningful work? Is this, which is one of my values, is this going to give to growth, right? And always looking to see if that's aligned with me. And then also doing that work. Is it aligned with the vision I want to create? Is it aligned with my vision? Is it aligned with my values for today? And is it going to lead me towards the legacy I want to create? So I love what she said. I know she got off, but I love what she said about the values.
oh,
She's
yeah.
back, she's back. Well, and she's moving. Woo-hoo. Never give up. That's what I said. That's a value right there.
Plugging. Plugging. That's my book.
Awesome. Ace
It's
your
called
life.
Your Life. Unleash your best self and live the life you want. And it just came out on audiobook. So I'm very excited. There's a whole chapter in the book. Of course, now that okay, at least I got my
At least
plug.
you get to see
We
it.
saw it. We saw it.
But I was going to say there's a whole chapter literally in this book on values. And it talks about why values are important and also how to formulate your values. So I think it has fundamentally changed my life, and it's fundamentally really, I see the transformations in people that I work with is pretty amazing. So I highly recommend, even whether you read my book or not, that you really do the values work because it's so substantially helpful.
I'm going to do a plug for my book too. So I have a book called Creating Your Limitless Life, and I have Chasing the American Dream crossed out. Because society has taught us to really just only to value metrics and our title and our superpowers so much more than that. And we can do 100 different things and 100 different more. And when we think about our vision, it's really looking at like, what is the feeling and that impact we want to create. And I also have an accompanied workbook, because you brought up Jose workbooks, and actually it's been interesting. My workbook has actually been more successful than my book. It got #1 last week in Amazon, because it provides these practical exercises that you can do 10 to 15 minutes a day, right? Like I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm so busy, I'm so this, but the workbook gives you that practicality to be like, what is that legacy I want to create? What is that vision I want to create? What do I want to be sought out for? What kind of impact do I want to have in that world? What are my non-negotiators, the boundaries you have to create, right? So all that work is in the workbook. So yeah. So anyways, congrats to all the authors.
That is all amazing. I'm going to personally get a copy of your books today, actually. So thank you for sharing that. I'm assuming it's on Amazon, but I would love to hear Sifu Raphael, since we're talking on this subject, mastering and transforming dreams into reality, how does that, kind of apply in your morning, how you get your day started? Let's hear you.
Well, before I jump on that, I want to let you ladies know that I am also going to get your copies of your books, but I need them signed because they're going to be added to my library. I just received these today, and
Uh-huh.
one of the books that definitely will change the way you do things is this book. I know Jose has a copy of it too, is The Bank Code. And that's something that's going across the screen, and I'm gifting everybody a $99 totally free, a value of $99, and you can grab that. Just go to my bit.ly/seafood code. When we consider our life, we especially for me, I'm very hard on myself, and that's why I'm always challenging myself. So one of the things that I have learned along the way is, first of all, don't take myself so seriously sometimes. I am a serious person when it comes to being in certain things, but I like to have a good time. And one of the things that I have learned the most, and the most important, I think, for all of us, is to forgive ourselves, because we're going to make mistakes. I make so many every single day that at the end of my day, if I carry those mistakes with me, man, my tomorrow's going to suck. It's going to, pardon the French, but it's just going to be terrible. So I forgive myself as I go through my day. And definitely at night, I reflect about that. And for me to start my day, as Jose will attest to it, because he does it himself, it's the night before, setting up yourself for the next day. So in the evening, I know what I have to do on the next day. I know what tribulations I'm gonna face, what problems, what amazing things are gonna happen in my next day. And I plan to have the most possible and best day. Now, for anybody that you run across the way and you go, oh, they woke up on the wrong side of the bed. My advice to them is stop sleeping on the wrong side of the bed, right? Stop going there, because you woke up, you should be in glory. You've been giving another chance to fix your life, to fix all the mistakes, to have glory, to thank God that you're alive. Listen, I can move my fingers. Do you know how many people don't have the ability? So every morning I wake up, Jose, and I thank God for my abilities. That is the first thing after my prayers. That's the first thing that I say. God, thank you for the gifts you've given me, because without them, I would be nothing. So
That
that's
is
how I
brilliant.
start.
That is brilliant. And I actually have a question to kind of go around here as well in terms of the topic we're discussing. But before I do that, I have a thought. So this is something that I've been doing for maybe since 2019, not maybe, since 2019. And this is from Brendan Burchard. How many of you know Brendan Burchard? I'm sure you've seen him. You've read his book. He has a book called High Performance Habits and many others. Great guy. And he has this thing that I read in his book, High Performance Habits, again, that I've been doing since 2019. And as I pull it up here on my phone, if I go to my clocks, if you see here, it's probably hard to tell. You can see these times, 9, 2, and 6, right? And they're triggers. They're triggers during transitional periods of my day, to where it is an alarm that goes off on my phone and it says, bring the joy, right? Bring the joy, because it is so easy to get bogged down from the challenges of your day, from people that said no to you, from clients that, whatever, anything can happen, right? And there was times when I did have a job. Now I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I work from home in my home office. So literally I just go outside my door, my family's there. But before, when I was getting home around 6, before I put the key in the door, I have to remind myself, I have to now fully show up for my family now, right? I have to fully show up with the highest level joy and refresh and restart and reignite myself, because I don't want them to get the leftovers. right? And it's just the same thing in everything that you do throughout your day. So that's something that I do in terms of how I pursue, my dreams. That I got to position myself at all times to be cognizant, to be fully aware of what I'm doing throughout the day. But just a side note. Now, my question to all of you is, when our dreams start to seem like they're going like this, right? Almost like you're looking through a tube. And it's like, because, usually you can really see your dream big and it's very obvious and you can see the vision because visionaries see those things. But sometimes naturally, we start to lose hope and we start to kind of go off the rails, if you will, into the grass. Like, as you start to go into the bumpy rocks, like, you got to like get back on the road, right? Almost like you're falling asleep at the wheel. So in times like that, what do you do to stay the course and to stay on the mission and your vision to pursue your dream? I'll tell you what I do in one sentence. What my secret sauce, what I do to keep my dream alive, is I hang around dreamers, right? How do you keep your dream alive? Hang around dreamers. Hang around people that have big visions, that have big dreams, that are mission driven, purposeful. Hang around those people, because when you feel like you're hanging on a thread with your dream and your vision, guess what? Those people are going to inspire you. Those people are going to nudge you and say, "Hey, what are you doing? Get back on the horse," right? So what do you guys do? And we'll just go around the room, whoever wants to speak, but what do you guys do to keep your dream alive and to keep it full, front and center?
Go ahead, Dr. Esther.
To be honest, yeah.
So similarly, I call that my champions, but I have like a series of champions. I'm in 15 different communities, so I definitely lean on that. But I think I go back to what I was mentioning earlier about what I've overcome and how, and I have that in my daily routine so that I don't derail. And I noticed that if I one day miss that thing that I haven't done, like missed reading a testimony, something, right? I already noticed like and that's when I have to lean on in my community and also follow my how-to, right? So like all of us have a superpower in how we like to solve problems. And so I have that written up there. Like, what is my approach to solving problems? So when I feel like my vision is unobtainable, I even felt this way even a couple of weeks ago, because I'm pitching my second book to large publishers. And I felt overwhelmed with like the author, with the bureaucracy, right? And I think a lot of us, we have these dreams, but we get what puts us like frustrated is fighting the systems, right? Because we have our big world and we have our systems, and they haven't really met each other yet. And there's all this bureaucracy that we're fighting constantly. And so for me, it's when I'm fighting those systems and the bureaucracy and access is when I start to like lose hope. And so I have to follow my 3-step process. Okay, what do I do? How do I like to solve problems? Oh, I like to go listen to people. I like to consult experts, right? And I put that down. I'm like, okay, we're going to go get help. We're going to listen. We're going to read something inspirational and keep going. And I think all of us have a preferred way of doing that. And it's nice to have that, like, however you want to do it, post it, this and that. And when you feel that way, remember that you're not alone. That's why I loved your answer, Jose, because community is everything, right? And sometimes that community is there to either help you or just support you and feed that energy however you need it.
So true.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Dr. Michelle?
So I think, I love having community and having support from others, but I feel like it really has to start from within. We rely too much, unfortunately, on others. And it takes away, because, we're with ourselves 24/7. Our longest relationship we'll have is with ourselves forever and ever. And we have to foster that relationship. And no matter how much validation we get from the outside world, if we don't feel it at the gut level, it's going to be meaningless, and I see that. Actually, I'm working with this, actually she's in medical school, this student, and she's always gotten this positive feedback from others around her. And now she's in medical school, and you can imagine the rigor of being in medical school. And she's having such a hard time because she has to rely on herself. And she even said to me, she was in tears the other day because we did some really deep work. And she said to me, I never had to do this before. Like, I don't even know how to do this. Like, it's always been coming from people outside of me. And I was like, yep, that's part of the problem. Because when you have to rely on yourself, you don't know what you're doing. So anyway, fostering that relationship. And also, I think we're never taught how to do that. And that's my issue that I have a big problem with, because we teach academics in school, but we don't teach about social skills. We don't teach about, activities of daily living. We don't teach about social emotional learning, and I could go on and on and on. That's a whole other show. But and parents, unfortunately, are never taught how to parent their children that way either, because we're not taught, right? So like the example I always give is, when your child is, kind of at a sports game and they did really well, like, the parent will come over and say, wow, the coach is so proud of you, or look how your teammates are so proud. But you don't say to them, how do you feel? How do you feel about your performance? We never foster that, going within. So on that, it's really, again, my whole entire section on empowerment, because it's acceptance, compassion, empowerment, that's what ACE stands for, is on exactly what you're talking about. It's all about, how do we sustain habits? How do we maintain behavior? What are the barriers that get in the way of that? And I came up with, like, again, there are so many exercises that I have to facilitate that, because there's something I call like a slip and fall pattern. We often slip, right? But there's a difference, let's say, with health and wellness and eating. There's a difference between going off, right, healthy eating for a week and going off for 2 months. So slipping is okay. We're all human and we're all imperfect. But when we fall, that's when we get into a real difficult pattern. And the problem with it is the behavior is followed with negative thinking and self-deprecation. And that perpetuates more negative behavior. So it's a vicious cycle, and it's very psychological, I'm going to say. So again, my whole, the whole section of my book talks about that, but it's complex. It's very, very complex.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that that's great. Like, I love what you said, Dr. Michelle. And I think, like, another part of it, like you were bringing up about the self, I also think that we all have a role. Like, I mean, I could speak about Latino culture, but I mean, and I've heard from others that it's very similar in other cultures. But what happens when we go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas? What do people ask us about? Metrics. Did you gain weight? Who's your boyfriend, girlfriend? Oh, how, did you get that promotion? How much money are you making in your business, right? And when we're constantly doing these metrics, and you were talking about we haven't been taught, I think it's even bigger, right? More than just even being taught. Look what we reward and praise people on, right? Just on these American dream metrics. And did you buy a house? Did you do XYZ? Did you do that? We don't ask people, what's your truest aspirations? What are your dreams? How can I support you, right? What do you want to be sought out for? We never ask that, So in my previous career, I was a diplomat, worked in humanitarian aid around the world, and I would go to communities and I would ask them, what's your highest aspiration? And they would tell me, no one's ever asked me. People come in here telling me what I need, but no one asks me what I want and what I need. And I think it's all of our responsibility to change that. Right. Because I mean, I think I do agree there's a lot on the self, but I think there's a big part that's on society. And it starts with us on changing the narratives, changing the conversations we ask people, and supporting each other's aspirations, like wherever that is, from like our kids, our colleagues, whatever, because sometimes it's totally different than what that person's doing every day. And they just want that space to be like, it's okay to go after what I want, even if it's against the grain, even if it's different, and especially if you're trailblazing something, it might not even exist, right? And they just need someone to support them so they can stop that self-deprivation, all that stuff. Sometimes they just need someone to believe in it with them.
If anybody wants to know more about metrics, Dr. Esther and I did another show and we talked a lot about metrics and how everybody, so because you're 1,000% right, everybody wants to know how you're doing. They don't want to know how you're doing. They want to know what your metrics are. They don't care. Maybe I have an ache or something like that, or maybe I had a bad night or whatever. They just want to know about what's your car, what car you're driving. Look at their shoes. Where'd you get those? Or that. That's basically. So one of the things that Jose asked about is, how do we find our dreams when sometimes they're falling apart or they're closing in on us? And one of the things that both of you ladies said was about the self. And guess what? No matter where I go, there I am.
Yes.
There I am. So if I am going to show up, who do I show up as? Do I show up as what you want? Or do I show up as my unique self? Because my fingerprint, you didn't make. You didn't make my fingerprint. He did. He did. And that is my license to be me. I don't want to be who you want me to be. I have to be who he wants me to be. He made me. So when my dreams are falling apart or they're closing in on me, Jose, I'm going to tell you, I ask for guidance. And yes, I do want to surround myself with people who are going to help me and so forth. But I ask for guidance and I don't have to verbalize it outward because I'm asking internally, because all my life I've been told that God is in me. So if he's in me, I'm asking within me, God, guide me through this difficult time. Help me understand why I may be going off the rails, why this person is being so, can't even say it, with me. So when we look at our dreams, do we have the end result as a vision? Do we know what that looks like? I always ask this morning, when I woke up this morning, first thing, I prayed. Second, I gave gratitude for the gifts. Then I asked for guidance so that today would be a day that he would be proud of me, that I can be proud of me, that the people that I impacted would say, wow. I'm having an event later today. I'm having a 5-hour event. I am going to be on fire every minute. I've been up since like 3 something, but guess what? What energizes me is not me. It's the people that I'm going to impact. So when we can consider where our dreams taking us, they're taking us where we ask to be guided to. So that's I ask for guidance.
That is fantastic. Speaking of the question, how are you doing, right? You know, we hear that all the time. And I think how are we doing is an empty question because most people don't care how you're doing, right? They either don't care how you're doing, really, or they just say it out of habit. It's like almost like a hello. It's like a question. It's an empty question because they're not really asking you how you're doing because they want to hear how you're doing. Because most people aren't going to answer you genuinely anyway, right? So A, they don't really care about how you're doing, and B, you're not really going to answer genuinely anyway. You know, how many people are going to respond, how are you doing? Oh, absolutely terrible. It's been a rough day. Like very, very rarely people respond good. Awesome. It's great. It's whatever, right? And a lot of people, believe it or not, I can't tell you how many times I've been passing somebody and I do my best to say hello to people. I want to be social. I want to be approachable. Sometimes I have to inform my face that I'm excited because I'm a very serious person, right? But generally when I'm walking down the street, I say hi to people, right? And I'm like, hey, good afternoon. I try to say something different because good afternoon is not how are you doing. It's it's just something. It's just a greeting, right? But many times I've said, how are you doing? And they respond to me, how are you doing? I'm like, did you even hear my question? Like, how are you doing? How are you doing? Like, no, it's just like that thing, right? So people just casually. So it's amazing. Sometimes we have to slow down to speed up, right? We have to slow down in the people that we cross because A, we don't know who we're talking to. B, we don't know if they're on the tail end of their dream. And maybe by us just pouring into them a little bit, we reignite that flame within them, right? And we all are going to need that at some point. We're all going to need that one person in the right time, in the right place to say the right thing. That's just going to shift and be like, that's exactly what I needed to hear at this moment. And they might not even tell you. They might not even say, oh my gosh, you just saved my life, or you just reignited a passion inside of me, or whatever, but they feel it. So I think it's important for all of us in the pursuit of our dreams, in the pursuit of our visions and missions and purpose, to be very cognizant that there are people out there that are just one day away or one decision away from losing their dream, right? And it is up to us to be aware and to be this magnet out there that's attracting people to say, hey, it's okay to dream. And not only is it okay to dream, it's also okay to feel like you're losing your dream. What's not okay is for you to throw in the towel, right? Because we live one time. I had a friend who said, I don't know who it was a mentor, somebody said, you only live once, right? And I always say, no, you only die once, but you live daily, right? We have to live daily and we have to be fully alive every single day that we have, because we can't take it for granted. I've had 3 friends of mine that I know personally that have passed away this year, 3, right? And I thought I was going to go to the end with these people and we're going to be old one day and travel the world and enjoy life and stuff like that. Completely unforeseen, completely unforeseen. So, and it's amazing that there's a lot of people are not physically dead, but they're walking around internally dead every day, right? And that's where we have to come in. We have to come into play and say, not only am I going to pursue my dream, but I'm going to support yours too and encourage you along the way.
Dream makers, right? Dream makers. We need to help people with their dreams. Sometimes when you do say hi to somebody or somebody says hi to you, they go, how you doing? They just said politely because now they're going to tell you their story, their dialogue. And so, like you said, Jose, they're not interested in how you're doing because they just want to have you hear them. And sometimes it's important to hear them, just like you said, because there's a message that they need to deliver to you. But sometimes maybe someone else didn't hear them because someone goes, oh, don't ask them how they're doing because they're going to tell you. But sometimes they need that person. They need you to be that ear, that ear with a heart attached to it to say, tell me more. And thank you for that, Jose, because that's powerful. Because you don't know, somebody may be at the end of their dream and they're about to take.
And actually, Jose, like it brought to me back a memory. Like in November, I had I had a book event, and like they were all sharing the different ways like I had touched their lives, and there was things I didn't even know. Like there was one guy who told me, you know what, I was like one day away of taking my life away, and like you came and you were just like, how can I support you? And I just said, like, what's your highest aspiration? We talked it through, and I was just there to listen. And I think that's what's something that we undermine now in society is listening. Like I even saw that in my career. It was like, what do you mean we're just going to listen? But I'm an engineer. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm this. I have to show my knowledge. And I'm like, actually, the biggest gift you can give someone, if you didn't talk in that conversation and you just listen to them, that's a win. That's success. Because we want to be seen, heard, felt. And when he said that to me, I had no idea that day that he was feeling that, right? There's so many things that people are feeling and processing that we have no idea what they're going on in their lives. And just by being there and have opening and giving people that space, you can change someone's life or even help them keep it going.
Yeah.
I have a question here for the panel, for you guys, whoever wants to answer it. We don't have to all answer, but whatever. The question is, there's a difference between being skilled at something, being good at something. There's good, there's great, and there's mastery, right? So mastery is like the highest level of whatever, whether it's martial arts, black belt like Sifu, or the doctorate degree, or whatever it is that you're pursuing mastery in. There's a difference between mastery and being good and great, right? And sometimes good is the enemy of great, as they say. There's a great book out there about that. So, but then there's mastery. And I believe Bruce Lee said something to the effect of he'd rather master one kick 10,000 times than know 10,000 different kicks, right? However that quote was, right? But there's a 10,000 hour rule, all that stuff when it comes to mastery. Now, when it comes to mastering and transforming our dreams into reality, right? There's a certain level of mastery in order for your dream to come to fruition, because you have to work on it every day. How do you, in your day-to-day, pursue mastery when it comes to realizing your dreams?
I can take it. So, for example, when people come to me, they come to me because they want to master something. Sometimes they don't even know what it is. Sometimes it's the parents that bring the children to me because they want their kids to stop behaving the way they're behaving, and they want their kids to have more control. Sometimes it's adults who come because they've always wanted to do something and they want to accomplish something. So it's having guidance for someone to help you achieve that mastery, because both doctors on this panel did not become doctors by just reading a book. They actually had to go through a lot of hard work in order to accomplish it. They had to attend lectures, classes, studying, late nights, and so forth. And of course, you can tell me more about it. But mastery for anyone is time. You need to invest the time. Right now, I am investing the time in certain aspects, but my result is, and whenever I take any challenge, I'm always a white first. And even though I've been doing martial arts for 49 years, I still consider myself a white belt, because when I achieve the highest level, then I may be too full of myself and think I don't have to practice anymore. Therefore, when someone gives me an accolade of like, oh, I was at the event and somebody said, oh, Grandmaster, and they bowed to me. I'm like, please stop bowing. I'm a white belt. So for me, it's being humble enough to understand that I don't know anything unless I take the time. And time to me is everything. Take the time to learn to understand what it is I'm trying to master. And yeah, I might be a little better than you, but only because I took a little extra time. That's about it.
Yeah, and in my work, I think everyone is a master. Everyone has a superpower, right? And so, like, one of the reasons why I wrote my book and workbook is because I was so frustrated as a kid. Everyone talked about purpose, 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 but no one told you how to unpack that purpose. So I spent a big part of my life where I confused my purpose with the American dream. I did all those check marks, every single metric. You know, even the doctor, my name's a metric. I did every single metric, even had the big house, the whole thing. But that was not my purpose. That was not my superpower. So even though I became a master in a field, I have a different mastery, a superpower of unpacking, helping people unpack purpose, make it happen, keep it going. That's outside of my technical skill. And everyone has a superpower that they can utilize to master becoming their dreams a reality. And that's the work I do, is help people unpack their superpower, because you need clarity first. So I do agree, you need time, but you need clarity on what is that superpower that you have, that you can utilize, that you can like optimize to then create that roadmap that's going to help you achieve that vision that you want and that alignment you want in your life. But first, it's like unpacking what that is and unpacking all those societal things that we have layered on us. Like when I work with kids, first graders are super clear on who they are, their purpose, their superpower. They're ready to go at 7. By 4th grade, they're already like, my mom, my dad, my teacher want me to do X. And they tell me this is what my talent is, right? And my power is. Or you have students when I speak to, and I tell them, open up your LinkedIn. They're like, I just have student written in my name. I'm like, no, you have a power already that you can utilize. You've always been utilizing it. So I think for me, the first step is like that. Unpack that, what makes you unique, that superpower we all have. There's a how-to that's no one else has in the world but you. And then let's utilize that and create, like what Sufu was saying, like you gotta make time for your legacy, make time for your dreams, and you gotta put that in your day-to-day. And how you put that in your day-to-day is going to vary from each person, but you have to put in that time and that energy alignment. But it's much easier once you have that clarity and direction. Then you can put that time and then make it a reality. But I also want to give time for Michelle. Yes.
Yeah.
Michelle.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add, because I think everything that everybody said is so wonderful and so meaningful. So I think, like Carl Jung talks about the golden shadow, and that's really what we're talking about. Like, what is it within us that makes us unique, special, whatever? I always like the metaphor that I always use is that like there's a big piece of marble, right? And when you just see the marble, it's just the slab, right? But when you then take a stab at like, cultivating it and forming it into a sculpture, it's this beautiful masterpiece, but in its essence, it's beautiful just as it is, and it's just cultivating, who we are as we are. It's nothing more than who we are, all the beauty is within us, and I think, again, I'm going to go back to values, but it's really extrapolating what that is. I feel like everything comes from that, our meaning, our purpose, who we are, what's important to us. Values are, there's no contingency. So we don't decide I'm going to do it just because, right? And all the stars have to align and, give all these kind of rationalizations for it. It's really kind of thinking about like what's important to me. I do this, and it's interesting. I use these kind of deck of cards, and I do this value exercise, and I actually kind of gave it in the book, but of course, because you don't have the cards, I did it in different ways. But people always tell me, I know what my values are. I know what my values are. And then I do this exercise with them, and it's amazing what comes out of it. Amazing. And I know for myself, when I did it during my graduate education, because it's a very kind of acceptance and commitment therapy related exercise. When I did it, the first hierarchical value that came out for me was connection. And I didn't even know how important that was for me. And what was so interesting, because I'm very busy. So people are always like, oh, can we go out for lunch? Can we kind of network? And I'm always like, I don't have time. I don't have time, And instead of saying, well, I don't have time this month, but maybe next month, let's look at our calendars, right? So now I'm so cognizant of it. And I think about that, like when somebody approaches me and I'm so relational and I say, first of all, thank you so much for being interested in me and for wanting to connect to me. I want to connect to you too. I am very busy, but like I don't have time now, but let's look a little bit further on the calendar because you're so important to me. And I schedule it. And every time I schedule something, I give myself a pat on the back. I'm like, there I go, leaning into my values because that's important to me. And that's what empowers me. Yeah.
I just kicked something. That was amazing. By the way, Dr. Michelle, I love the word extrapolate. Thank you for saying that. That's one of my favorite words. I don't know why. I just like that word. But and then Dr. Esther, you mentioned the word clarity, or I think you said clarity at some point. And actually, it's funny because I had it written down because I was going to say something to that same effect. And then I'll turn it over to you, see if I'd like to quickly share. There's a great book in what we're talking about, mastering and transformation of dreams into reality. A great book called The Magic of Thinking Big, Dr. David Schwartz, I believe. That is one of the first books that was put into my hands by a mentor at like 18 years old. And I read it, and it just completely shifted the way I thought, right? How I saw life. And he said to me, Jose, no matter how big you think you're thinking, you're not thinking big enough. I don't care how big you think your dreams are and how big you think you're thinking, you're still not thinking big enough. And I was like, that is so hard to wrap your mind around, right? That whole idea. And for me, what gives me a sense of fulfillment is the development, the process of mastery, the transformational journey. Because the more you pursue mastery, right? What happens to your dream? It gets bigger, and it gets bigger, and it gets bigger because you get better. And as you get better, your dream gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it becomes clearer. You can actually almost tangibly feel it and touch it and smell it in the pursuit of mastery as you transform your life. But anyway, back to you, Sifu.
Wait, can I just add one thing? Sorry, before we end. I just wanted to tie to Jose that it also opens you up to more synchronicity events as well. So I just wanted to put that because the book that I was given at a young age was the Celestine Prophecy. And that talks so much about that. It also mentions what Dr. Michelle mentioned, Carl Jung. And I think all that teaching in there, and it all ties in. Go ahead. Sorry, Steve.
No, not at all. Listen, this is a collaboration on how we can build our dreams. So the question that I have for everyone is because you can have your dreams be so big and vast, but how do we make them come to fruition. And the question that I have to everybody on the panel and everybody who's been amazing at posting and putting information on the chat and joining us, thank you for that. You guys are all amazing, by the way. Do you put your dreams on paper? Do you manifest? I think there's a certain thing that really dynamically changes your dreams from here to your heart. I'm pointing to my heart because you can sit right here. Because you've written them. Because now maybe you can learn to start to create those action steps. And I think that for me, those are the most important. This is why I love to draw. Drawing is part of my evolution of creating. So yes, I do draw on the walls too. I'm that little kid that never stopped drawing on the walls. So yeah, I do make murals. But when we can either chicken scratch whatever our dreams are and put them down, how do they help manifest for you? And do you guys also do it? That's a question for you.
Okay, so we're supposed to answer. How do we do it? So mine is right here. See that big whiteboard over there?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a massive whiteboard here, and I use it all the time. I call it brain dumping. I call it mind mapping. I call it journaling to an extent. And I also journal in my journal. So that's kind of what I do in terms of the process and the creation and visualizing it and feeling it in the process. Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, I always write mine down as well. And that's what I love. That's why I created the workbooks. I even do my own workbook. It's like I do myself. It's like I'm basically sharing my own workbook that I with the public, right? And I look back. That's what I was saying. I even looked back at the one 5 years ago, and everything there has already happened. And same thing, even as a kid, I was just like, I was born in Nicaragua. I spent some time in Miami. The thought of people thought it was crazy when I would tell them I'm going to travel the world. And they all looked at me, no, you're not, Esther. Like, I don't know what you're thinking. You're crazy. And I did. I traveled the world. So I think like there's all these, like, by putting it down on paper and I think even talking about it, there's a lot of research done on that, from moving it to paper, how it makes it more likely for it to happen, higher probability. And also by talking about it. I was reading actually a recent journal on that. It's like 80% more likely by you just talking about it. So I think there's like a couple of things, writing and also talking about it and all the different ways that you can communicate it. So I do all of it, talk about it, write about it, share it, all of it. Because then you start to believe it. You're hearing your own self.
Nice. And we're going to wrap it up with Dr. Michelle, if you can. Oh, you're moving. I like it. Can't hear you, though. You got to unmute.
I said, how ironic is it that at the end of the discussion that my video comes on? So this is how well manifesting works, by the way. Because I've been manifesting that the whole entire show. Like this will that the video will come on and poof, look what happened.
I love the fact that you let us know that you're not a quitter. That's it.
Exactly. Again, I'm going to go back to the values. I do a values review every single night before I go to bed, and it really, really kind of hones in on the trajectory of where I am and where I want to be going, and it leads my life. It really does. And the nice thing is I could always regroup. I could always, through my development, through my growth, I could always reevaluate my values. So I could come up with new values. And, it's always kind of a journey, which is so lovely. And I love doing that. And I find it really, really, it puts me in a space where I'm always growing, which I've invested in doing that.
Beautiful, beautiful. I got to tell you, what an amazing show. Thank you for all of you for making it an amazing show. I think this is one that people should listen to several times, because you all shared so much knowledge and information that we should start to, if we want to have dreams that and make them a reality, we got to come back and listen to the show. So thank you all for being here with us today.
And thank you so much for putting this together and for helping people the way you do.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks to all the listeners. I've been watching the chat. And so it's so nice to meet everyone in the chat, for being present here and for meeting all of you.
Thank you so much as well, Dr. Esther, Dr. Michelle. You two are brilliant. I enjoyed learning from you. And Sifu, as always, it's always a pleasure. So thank you.
Oh, buddy, I got to tell you, this show is only unique because you said yes. Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your Friday. Take care, everybody.
Me too.
Bye.
Bye.
Ta-da!
Well, thank you so much, Sifu. It was great.
Yeah. So wait, we didn't even end.